You dig? Allow you get a little naked. And then after you fall and you scared and they see you, they say, it's cool, I'm with you. Now grow. So, after I thought about it, wrong was talking about it. Y'all wanna hear it? Here you go. You gotta learn how to be a parent, you know? And you gotta learn how to love yourself and love other people. You smell me? Say, man, it's Valentine, stop preaching. Just leave an offering in the back. Money tight. Let me see my next song.
How long you been in the game?
I've been in the game about 12 years. Actually 15 years. And then 12 years in soul music, 15 years just in music in general. I got into soul music out of frustration, just trying to fit into the label's mindset at that time, and they felt like I was way too soulful, too much passion for what they wanted in R&B at the time. And
I felt snow fall from ceilings.
Out of frustration, I just created my own thing, started my own band. And so a couple of years later, I took a 2 years break. It broke my heart, to be honest. And I came back, it was burning in me so much. I've been in the game ever since for 12 years straight.
So what do you think the difference is between today's artists and the old artists?
Man, I think there's a few differences between today's artists and older artists. I think today's artists are more knowledgeable, and I think that is a blessing. But unfortunately, as the Bible says, knowledge puffs up and love builds up. And the Bible also talks about knowledge being like a clanging cymbal. And I feel like one of the challenges of this generation is we know so much, and we have so much at our fingertips that we don't do much. And because we don't do much and don't live much, when we go to put it on paper, you can hear it. And I think our generation is so interested in knowing copyrights and knowing who's a weasel and who's on point that they never get past the fear to actually make a difference and to actually shake the game up and really be creative to say something that God has placed on their heart because they're so knowledgeable. So I think the biggest difference in the past, the benefit of those guys is they had that love that builds up. And they didn't have all of this knowledge. They just did it for the love of the game, the love of the people, and it's transcended time. And I think now guys are writing music that feeds your mind, and they're not writing a whole lot of stuff that goes straight to overwhelming your heart. And I think what's pretty sad is a lot of music right now is just mind food. It's not really character food or heart food. So I think those are the big. I think if that have had a contrast of the biggest difference of music business. Hold on one second, it's my mom. She was trying to call me to tell me to come pick this chicken up. I think that's the biggest thing. I think that's really sad when you hear hand us the mic. We don't have much to say because we're not really doing a lot. And I'm hoping as a writer that I've really tried to, and I believe it's other guys like me. I don't think at all by far that I'm the only one. I think it's many that are really trying to live. So they're so busy trying to live and be better men and better husbands and better neighbors and wrestle with how do they feel about this and how do they feel about that, instead of running from what they're dealing with, that when they do speak musically, it's a lot more prolific, profound, it's a lot more piercing. So I think what's happening right now, though, is a cycle. It's starting to be a new age of guys, real men, that are getting tired of the little boys speaking for us. We say, all right, man, move over. Let me just speak for myself. Don't speak for me. So I think that's another thing that's happening in the music.
I know it's hard to tell, but I'm often by myself, the silent type. I was not the one to tell exactly what I felt. My lips were tight.
As a soul singer, are you guys an endangered species?
Yeah, Unfortunately, I think we're an endangered species, not because it's not a lot of more singers than ever before, and that is not tons of talent, just brilliant talent. I just think soul music was a title that was created because people were bearing their soul, and they were transparent and vulnerable. And I think now it's very, very few people in our generation that are that transparent. A lot of the writers now are trying to tell us what they think we need to hear or what we want to hear. Tell us what you're wrestling through. We figuring out our own mess. So, you know, not what you think. Most of us haven't lived long enough to know that we qualify to feed the masses.
I was trapped in the world I created. I used to love it, now I hate it. But you helped me let go of the past and my mistakes. And your love, now I can embrace. And I realize that you saved me.
That's really, when you share your own pain and what you're wrestling through, you'll be amazed on how much that's meeting the needs of the masses. So I think that's not enough for that. I think right now, soul music is really hurting because we don't have a lot of journalists. In the 60s and the 70s, they spoke for the people and themselves. So when you had so much of that going on, they weren't trying to write clever to the beat. They were just trying to talk about what was happening within themselves in the community. And they were trying to let it out to keep from committing suicide or whatever. They were wrestling through these things. They were fighting some real demons, and you heard the soul in that. And so, do I think that is a stink? Yeah, I think it's not many of us around doing that, bearing our soul. So, and that's in any field. I don't think you have a lot of true country western singers, true hip hop artists. It's very, very few hip hop. So, yeah, I don't think it's a lot, and I'm looking forward to more and more of us shining through, you know?
Just walked in, and my son says, Dad, I need a pair of shoes. Took him out, but when we came back, my daughter said, I need some too. So I'm back in car, check the gas hand, and it's way below 80. Check my wallet. Then my wife calls and don't forget the groceries. But she said it really don't matter what we're going through now. All I know is this love is amazing. She said I really don't know how it's gonna work out. All I know is this love is amazing. She said.
For a youngster that's trying to get in this game today, what would you tell him in reference to what a starving artist means in this industry today? What does he have? What does he or she have to go through to say, "See me now"?
Right. Wow, that's heavy. I think the first thing I try to tell young artists is, don't skip steps. Don't let your management allow you to skip steps. Don't let whoever is packaging you allow you to skip steps, because at some point we will see it, and you're gonna pay. I see artists, so many artists now, they had great production around the greatest producers, but they haven't done any gigs. They haven't performed. They haven't been booed enough. They haven't got shaved enough in the streets to get sharp. So when they get on these major stages and these major awards, we turn the channel because they skip steps. So I think it's an art to everything. It's an art to filling seats. So it's some great promoters out here. It's an art to managing, and it's an art to being a great publicist. And I think sometimes the young singers don't deal with their art, but we want to hang it with those people who are great at their art. You know, get all of these great cameramen, all these great artists that are in their 30s and 40s who seasoned, who paid their dues, and we hanging with them, so we look like we paid our dues. And I try to tell a lot of the young guys, don't skip steps. If you got a talent show, or if you got an opportunity to sing at church or sing background, I tell a lot of guys, you want to be a front man? If you want to learn how to lead, learn how to follow. Most guys who come to me and say, I want to learn how to be a lead singer. All right, I want you to be a background singer for 2 or 3 years for somebody. What? You know, I told you I want to be a lead singer. Right, well, you ain't going to ever lead unless you learn how to follow. And what I find is some of the greatest, from Anthony Hamilton to D'Angelo to Mariah Carey. I mean, you can name them, you can go down the list. Luther Vandross, the ones that really revolutionized, Marvin Gaye, many of them were in the back first. And so when coming out in the front, they were ready for the light because they understood a lot of dealing with the darkness. So I try to tell a lot of these young cats, if you don't know how to follow, you probably won't know how to lead that great, and don't skip steps. That's my biggest suggestion to them. And if you skip steps and we on the same stage, yeah, okay. I'm fitting to show you up. Or I'm gonna tell people, and when I'm done with you, people gonna ask you for that. They're gonna come to you and ask for their money back. I promise you that. So.
As far as like you were just talking about, how do you convince them to not skip steps?
Beat them. You take their money, you know, you take their crowd, and I think in the 60s and 70s it was competition. The one thing I think people are afraid of in hip hop is common to understand. It's a battle, and you got to earn your stripes. In soul and R&B, there's this. It's all love. It's all. Yeah, you know, peace is not the absence of conflict. It's the presence of justice. So when you ain't rehearsed and you ain't practiced and you have me and my aunt and my uncles come out and spend our last bit of money to get entertained by you and you ain't entertain us, yeah, we got a problem. It's a conflict. So I think, let me make sure I don't go on a tangent but I think what the biggest thing I think you need to do is we need to get more competitive singers. In the 60s and 70s, there was so many great singers. It was so many battles that the cream just rose to the top. I think right now enough cats ain't rehearsing and sharpening their craft. So I think right now some of the cats that are on top right now in pop and R&B are on top just because there ain't enough competition. It ain't like they the nicest or the sickest. They don't have nothing. Some of these cats winning 8 and 9 Grammys and we're awarding them for that. And we got other artists who only won 2 Grammys. There was a reason for that. Because there was so much competition, it was hard to win a bunch of titles and championships when everybody was great. But when everybody sucked, and now you have the best publicist, the best manager. Right now, artists it's about artists like bars of soap, and whoever has the best salesman in that company, they probably sell the product. So I'm saying, how do we change that? You get on stage with somebody else like me, I'm gonna take your money. So I suggest you do one of these 2 things. Don't share. No, I'm joking. No, it's all good. Ain't nothing but love. I'm just a lowly little fat boy. I don't want no trouble. I'm just here. I'm just happy. I'm just a church boy. I love God. You share that stage with me, boy. No, I'm joking. I love y'all. It's all good. Ain't no hate over here. It's all love. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So that's all I gotta say to this generation. But I think it's changing, and I'm excited about that. Yeah, you know, I saw love here. I just pray in the next 10, 15 years, my legacy is to do one of the challenges Luther Vandross gave our generation is stop with the acrobatics and work on tone. He's like, that's all I listen for is they can imitate each other, but who has a sound and a tone and a voice that's cutting through. And so hopefully over the next 10 or 15 years, I got 10 albums before I sit down, is that I can be one of the voices that when you look at my generation over the next 10 or 15 years and you look for a male singer, Marvin and Stevie is the debate for the 60s and 70s.
It took me by surprise, I must say, when I found out yesterday. Don't you know that I heard through the grapevine?
But waiting on me, the day they once let slip away, hiding me to fulfill their heart desire for love's passion.
The 80s and 90s debate, you got all these singers, and then everybody say, but then there's Luther.
Love wins.
I want the next 10 or 15 years, you can mention all the men you want, and then you'll say, and then that was Marcell. So that's my hope and prayer over the next 10 or 15 years, that I make a mark in music. But if that ain't what God wants, I'm surrendered and I'm open. But God forbid if it is. Holla.
Now I'm staying till the end and I can live. No way, baby, I'm gonna stay right here.